My name is Emma, and this is my story. It is not a story about success or fame. It is a story about learning to live again, one small step at a time. I live in a small city. I wake up early every day. I go to work, drink my coffee, and watch people hurry in the street. Sometimes I smile, but sometimes I feel like I am watching life from far away, like through a window. I used to dream big when I was a child. I wanted to be a writer, to travel, to tell stories that touched people's hearts. But then life became heavy. I started to think that dreams were for other people, not for me. One morning, I was sitting by the window of my small apartment. The sky was gray and my coffee was cold. I looked at the notebook on my table. It was full of empty pages. I hadn't written a single word in months. I whispered to myself, "What happened to me?" I didn't know the answer. I went to work as usual. The same desk, the same people, the same routine. Everyone seemed busy, moving fast, talking about numbers, projects, meetings. I listened, nodded, and tried to feel part of it. But inside, I felt small and invisible. That night, I walked home slowly. The city lights were bright, but I felt no light inside. When I reached my building, I looked at the sky again. A single star was shining. Just one. It was small, but it was there, not afraid of the dark. Something inside me moved very softly. I said to myself, maybe I still have a little light too. The next day, I decided to wake up a bit earlier, only 10 minutes earlier. I made a cup of tea and sat with my notebook again. At first, I didn't know what to write, so I just wrote one line. I want to find myself again. It wasn't much, but it felt like breathing for the first time in a long while. Each morning, I wrote a few more words. Simple things. How the morning light looked on my window. How the sound of the city changed when it rained. How I missed the sound of the sea. Writing became my quiet place. Nobody knew about it. It was just me, my notebook, and the small light inside. Days passed and I started to notice small things again. The smell of bread from the bakery near my office. The laughter of two kids running to school. The way the wind touched my face when I crossed the street. Life was still the same, but I was changing. I was learning to see again. One day, a new coworker arrived. Her name was Sophia. She was young, full of energy, and she smiled all the time. At first, I thought, she will get tired soon. Everyone does. But she didn't. She laughed at the little things, and she talked about her dreams like they were real. We started to have lunch together. She told me she wanted to be a photographer. I told her shyly that I used to write. Her eyes lit up. She said, "Used to? Then you still can." I laughed and said, "It's not that easy." She smiled and said, "Maybe it is." That night, I wrote about Sophia, about her light, her voice, her belief in possibilities. And for the first time, I wrote something beautiful again. It wasn't perfect, but it was honest. Weeks passed, and I felt different. I started to walk with my head higher, to say good morning to people, to look at the world, not just pass through it. One Sunday morning, I took the bus to the sea. It was only 2 hours away, but I hadn't gone in years. When I arrived, the wind was strong and the waves were high. I took off my shoes and walked on the cold sand. The sound of the ocean filled everything. My heart, my mind, my silence. I whispered, "I'm still here." The sea didn't answer, but it didn't have to. It just listened. I sat there for hours watching the waves. Each wave came and went, like breath, like time. And I realized something simple but true. Life is not about big moments. It's about all the small ones that we don't notice when we stop looking. After that day, I started writing stories again. Small stories about people and hope. I wrote them in simple English so that even people learning the language could feel the emotion. I posted one online and someone wrote, "Thank you. Your story helped me," I cried that night. Not because I was sad, but because I understood that even a small light can reach far away. Months passed. My notebook was almost full now. Sophia read my stories and said, "You should publish them." I said, "No one will read them." She smiled again and said, "I did." Her words stayed with me. I realized I had spent years waiting for permission to live. But life doesn't ask for permission. It waits for courage. One afternoon, while walking home, I saw a little boy trying to fly a paper kite. The wind was weak, and the kite kept falling. He didn't give up. He ran again and again until finally it flew. He laughed so loudly that everyone looked at him. I smiled. He reminded me of myself. The version of me who kept trying to find her light. At home, I wrote in my notebook, "We fall many times before we rise, but every fall teaches us how to stand taller." That sentence became the title of my first short story. I shared it online, and soon people from different countries started reading it. Some left comments. "I needed this today. Your words gave me hope. I'm learning English, and your stories make me feel less alone." I couldn't believe it. Something that started in my small apartment had reached people far away. It felt like magic. Quiet, honest magic. One evening, I met Sophia again. We sat in a cafe by the window, watching the sunset paint the sky orange. She said, "You look different now." I said, "Maybe because I finally like who I am becoming." She nodded and said, "You found your light." I smiled and answered, "I think I never lost it. I just forgot it was there." Silence filled the moment, warm and peaceful. We watched the people walking outside, some laughing, some running, some alone. Each one carrying a story, a dream, a secret. Later that night, I walked home slowly. The city lights looked softer than before. I realized that everything was still imperfect. I still had fears, doubts, lonely days. But I also had strength, hope, and a voice again. I sat at my desk and opened a new notebook. On the first page, I wrote, "This is not the end. This is another beginning," and I smiled. Time passed. My small stories became a small book. Not a famous one, not a bestseller, but mine. People wrote to me saying they read my book while drinking coffee, while waiting for a bus, or before going to bed. They said it made them feel calm, or strong, or seen. I never met them, but I felt close to them, because we all share the same light, the one that hides inside when life feels too heavy. Now, I still live in the same city. I still take the same bus, walk the same streets, but I see them differently. Every face is a story. Every day is a chance to start again. Sometimes when the sky is gray and my heart feels tired, I remember the little star from that night long ago, the one that wasn't afraid of the dark. I whisper, "Thank you," because it taught me something I will never forget, that the light inside me never left. It was just waiting for me to believe in it again. And maybe that is what life really is. Not about being perfect or happy all the time, but about learning to shine, even when the sky is not clear. So, if you are listening to this story and you feel lost or tired or invisible, please remember this. You are still here. You are still light. You are still becoming. And that is enough.
Thanks for watching. Remember, the best way to improve your English is to practice a little every day. Listen, repeat, and don't be afraid to make mistakes. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow me for more English stories and speaking practice. See you in the next one.